From ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 in Southern California. This is BizNinja Entrepreneur Radio with your host, Tyler Jorgensen.
Welcome out to BizNinja Entrepreneur Radio. I'm your host, Tyler Jorgensen, and today I have the privilege of speaking with Russ Perry, who is the founder and CEO of one of the coolest companies out there. Many of you have probably heard about it. You've seen their ads and had a random craving for pickles. So welcome out to the show, Russ Perry, the CEO of Design Pickle.
Thanks for having me.
So am I right? Are you the founder and CEO?
I am. And, like half the time people think we sell pickles. So I'm glad we got the design part out there. But yeah, I started this business actually in 2015. So we're now on our 6th year of the journey.
So in my brain, 2015 sounds like yesterday, but it's actually quite a few years. First things first, right? Like what is Design Pickle for those that don't know? I know because I'm a customer, but what is Design Pickle?
Yeah, Design Pickle in its shortest statement is flat rate creative services. So we started out with graphic design. We've moved into custom illustrations, which is a more nuanced subset of graphic design. Later this year, we're launching motion graphics, and we're going to continue to expand there. But our clients pay one flat rate every month. There's no variable pricing, no hourly, no project billing. You can request as much as you want, as many revisions. And really the only limitation is your designer's human. They only can work so much in a day. So it's really about, how much you can get done just depends on the creative work, but it's simple. And that was designed because I needed it first. Before Design Pickle, I was freelancing. I couldn't find an easy way to find help. And, typical entrepreneur story, created it for myself.
Yeah, I love that. So we'll get to the brand next, but the company as a whole, like you needed some design services. One of the scary things about flat rate design services is like your margins are fixed, right? So I'm assuming you had to consider things like utilization, like how many, what's the flow that people are going to give? Did you just napkin that all out and then figure it out as you go? Or how much research did you do before you launched?
You nailed it. Yeah. I didn't just randomly out of nowhere think of it. Prior to Design Pickle, I had almost 9 years of running a creative agency, and that sort of unceremoniously closed. I had a business partner, bit of trivia history of my background. He was actually in Argentina. So I had like an early play at trying to find different models for delivering design, like the cost structure of it. And so I had our creative team in Argentina. When that closed, I really just decided I didn't want to be in an agency model anymore. I had all this data on, we would do the big projects. Like I did like $250,000, $500,000 branding projects. But when that was done, we had to then just design stuff, ads, Facebook covers, whatever. So I was like, well, how much of that does someone need on average? How much does a designer cost either in the United States, globally, internationally? I was doing all this math. And could I estimate and guess a flat rate model where I could take one designer, pay them full time? All of our creatives, by the way, are full-time employees. We don't contract this out. And then lease their day. Have a designer work with 5 to 10 clients and at a time. Some clients need stuff every day. Other clients need it once a week, maybe more. And back of the napkin, it wasn't back of the napkin, it was in the moleskin it out. Right. And truthfully, Tyler, my predictions were great. And even I was like charging too little. Actually, our pricing right now is $399 for our entry plan. It's like secret, but I know many people know. I launched at $195.
I remember.
Yeah. And it was like, I had clients telling me, Russ, we love your service. You definitely need to charge more. And this is
so one of the challenges on a user's side is utilization, right? Mm-hmm. So where's the price point that even if they have a low month of use, that they still feel like, hey, I'm going to keep it instead of cancel and re-sign back up? Is that something you had to calculate and figure out?
Well, I just really, we have like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent of the available market. So most people are paying $50 an hour, $150 an hour, $200 a job, $1,000. Our price point is crazy disruptive. So really what I tell someone is if you're using it twice, 3 times in a month, you're going to get the value. And not just in the cost of the designer, but your time too. Like that's another thing people don't realize is finding a designer, managing their time. Are they available? Are they not? Do I have to have a brief meeting, getting a proposal? Like that's eliminated. You don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And okay, so I want to keep going down that road, but let's go all the way back to this real quick. Why did you make the idea of like, okay, I'm going to take design and then I'm just going to add a really weird word to it and come up with a brand? Like, was that strategic or was it a silly idea after like a 6-pack with a buddy? Like what happened?
Okay. So it's because I had a horrible name for my agency prior and I dealt with this for 3.5 years. My previous company's name, I'm going to spell it out. I know there's the audio for a lot of people. NSB/ yes, I had a / in it. Keen, Keane. So many consonants in this word. So when I do sales calls, we're with NSB Keen. What's the name? NSB Keen, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, shit, this is horrible, man. Like, I just need a name anyone can understand. I personally love pickles. Reubens and pickles are my 2 favorite food. Design Pickle or Reuben Design.
Yeah, Design Reuben would have been too hard to spell for too many people, right?
Designpickle.com was available. There you go. That's the branding story.
So I remember you from the early days, 2015, maybe 2016. I started seeing you at trade shows, started seeing your guys' booth, saw the pickle, costumes and the stickers and stuff being handed out. When you got started, so this is a 2-part question. One is, how long did it take you to go from idea to first customer? And then how long did it take you to go from first customer to where you were like profitable or at least covering your hard costs?
We launched January 2015. Idea was November, December 2014, in which I was consulting as a marketing consultant. And I started to secretly put my clients on this model. So I had the idea, I built it out, and I told my clients, hey, by the way, I was a consultant, I was working for a handful of clients. If you need something, I'm not available, just email this email address, I'll get it designed. And that was the beta of it. They didn't know they were using Design Pickle. I was working on it, and it started to click. So when we launched, I already had 3 to 4 people using it. And my launch in January, I did a guest blog post launch. So I just reached out to anyone and everyone. Man, if you had a blog, I wanted to know, I would write about anything you wanted. Like, I'll figure it out. And then we launched. And at the end of January, I had 22 clients and we were profitable. And my key there was charging enough. I had 1 designer, I had 1 project manager, and I had myself. I was not paying myself at the time. So technically, maybe we wouldn't have been profitable.
Yeah, deferred earnings or whatever, but you're still,
We were there. And that to me, for anyone starting out, especially right now with the current environment, there are probably so many people entering into the entrepreneur space. I always say, charge enough. Charge enough. Make money from day one. You don't have to be in the red, really, if you have a valuable product or service.
What's funny is you're saying you charge enough, but you've now doubled your pricing over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So, and was that a metric of your confidence of quality, or is that just a metric of, hey, we realize the real value in the market of what we deliver is closer to this? Or,
confidence, definitely underpricing. Like, we were just way too cheap. I got clearer on the numbers. As we've grown, we've had to add a lot of middle managers
of course.
People. So my margins would decreased, but also we've added a lot of value. We actually have a $1,000 a month product called our Pro Plan, and you have real-time chat in Slack with your designer. So we charge more now because we're giving you more value. We have our own stock library now that's accessible that you get for free. Like, all these things you get.
How fresh is the content in that stock library?
Nice setup. Well, it's very fresh. It's called Fresh Stock, and that was built out of a need. We couldn't find good vector assets and things for our own use, so we just said, "Hey, let's build our own asset library."
Does that also allow you to manage your team's downtime? Saying, "Hey, if you're not getting sufficient tasks, work on content creation for Fresh Stock." Is that like part of it or no?
Well, not for our graphic designers, but yes, for our custom illustrators. So we wanted to do more custom illustration work, but there wasn't the client demand. So we used their bandwidth to help build an asset library.
I've heard that from a few businesses where they say, look, if you're trying to add, new services, new resources, and opportunities, look for your current opportunities within your company for low utilization, things like that. So that's really neat. I have not checked that out. I'm excited to do so. It sounded like you started very intelligently, right? You started with some initial customers, you kept your costs down, you started slow. What was the first time where you hit a major hurdle in your growth? And then how'd you overcome that?
Well, our first major hurdle was growing our team and who to hire next. So I made a huge mistake, hired an amazing guy as a salesperson with a big salary, big pedigree in sales. Our first year, he was actually technically the second person I ever hired here in the States. And it was a colossal failure. And what I realized is I didn't even know my acquisition process. I wasn't clear on my customer. We were still so young. And here I was expecting someone to do the sales for me. So at the time, it really set us back morally, emotionally. This was a friend, and I had recruited him. So that was really hard. Sorry, man, you're getting fired. And I told you to come here.
Yeah. I pulled you from something, and then it turns out it's not a fit. How did you handle that? That's the human side of things that sometimes people forget in business. How'd you navigate that? And are you guys still friends?
Yeah, we're still good. And he ended up going, he came from insurance and he went back and crushed it in that area. It was radical truth. That was it.
Yeah.
Radical truth. We don't know how to sell this product, and you're not going to be successful because we can't give you a system. We can't give you reps and leads and all these tools and things. We're so young and new.
Yeah.
But it was radical honesty. And to this day, that's how I approach leadership one of our core values as a company is truth. So you're never going to get anything except for that.
I love that idea of radical truth. And it's the idea of having the hard conversation quickly before it builds into resentment or anything else, right? Just deal with it, face it head on. So just so people have a little bit of a range of understanding kind of your growth, 2015, end of 2014, you have an idea. 2015, you launch. First month, you get 22 clients. How many people are on Design Pickle now?
We have over 3,300 active subscriptions. And a lot of clients have more than one subscription. So
yeah.
But yeah, we've grown, and we've had over 12,000 plus people come through our doors. We're not a forever product or service. A lot of people come use us for a few months and they leave really happy.
But 3,300 to 12,000, that's not a bad retention and churn rate. That's pretty epic.
Thank you. I feel a little bad about it, but I appreciate your positivity around it.
Well, we could talk about some SaaS companies that would love your numbers. So no, because again, I've used you multiple times throughout my journey as an entrepreneur on different projects. And sometimes one of them, the project I worked on that ended. So that project didn't need you guys anymore. And then
you're part of our happy churn. It's a term. It's an internal term. It's called happy churn. And we bang our heads because they're like, we love you. That was great. We're done. And we're like, oh, how do we keep you?
Happy churn. That is actually awesome. I'm going to imply that into our agency because the idea of happy churn, there will always be some clients that move on, and it's not because you did anything wrong. Right.
Right.
How do you deal with unhappy churn, and how do you internally manage your quality control and improving?
Well, it is a really art and a science delivering creativity, because unlike a pure software product where it just works every time, and if something's not working, you can fix it with some code.
Right.
You and I could have the same designer, and you love Design Pickle and I hate Design Pickle, and has nothing to do with the designer. Yep. So we actually have a full-time and very large US-based customer success team at US and Mexico. We have a lot of team members there growing, and all we do is focus on communication. I mean, ultimately, if we can intercept a challenge before you've given up and lost trust, saying you know what, this is not for me, we have a 90+% retention rate of solving that problem and you sticking around for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's like detective work, hunting. We use data and metrics. You haven't logged in 30 days. Why? Maybe because that last request wasn't great. So we're always looking at that. And that's another value add is designers want to design truthfully. They don't want to manage conflict and challenging conversations.
Right.
So we have a separate resource for that. And that that actually clients like, because sometimes they don't want to give hard criticism to their designer. They feel bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of, just like you said, designers, like your designers probably fall in a pretty similar personality type because they're all designers.
Yeah.
But your customers are going to be, some of them are going to be, all ranges of personalities. Some are going to be super direct. Some are going to be flowery, but still be actually criticize it. And so I can only imagine like all the different ways of managing that. Now, from my side, I've seen it. You don't log in a while, you get an email, there's some feedback, so somebody else on the team steps in and helps. I've been very impressed with your guys' internal quality control and communication, because what you mentioned is super true. Not everyone's going to have the same opinions, right? Like there's a chemistry that has to happen from create someone who has an idea and someone who has to create that idea.
And we may not get you the right designer the first time too.
Right.
So like we want to make sure we have over 400 people to choose from. But we got to know, and that's the art of all of this, is getting you that right fit.
Yeah, it makes sense. So now 3,300 people versus the initial 22. As the entrepreneur, as the the CEO, what have you had to do to grow to be able to manage this size team versus when you first got started?
Right. Well, in 2015, when I launched Design Pickle in September, I also started my first ever investments in personal development. So I have done so much work in personal development, whether it is, your typical, Tony Robbins type work, to meditation training, physical training, coaching, public speaking training, everything. And my belief is my company can only grow as much as I do personally. And that has been a big thing. On the management side, it is that adage, hire people who have more experience than you. And that's tough as a self-funded company because we could only afford to hire so much experience. But we have worked really hard to build an incredible team. And that to me, like, there's actually been a big moment today in this past week of Design Pickle history where I left the customer service Slack channel for the first time in 5 years. And they all celebrated because our new customer success director, Aaron, he's killing it. And, we found someone to run that company that I no longer need to be involved. So that's been the big play for me. And truthfully, what I spend a lot of my time in is recruiting our management, leading our team, and also growing myself. Because I don't know what I don't know. I don't know how to run a $100 million company, which is the direction we're headed. But I can learn it, and I'm going to study different people on how to get there.
Do you ever see, like, I mean, you're a CEO of a big growing company. You work with a lot of other big brands. You ever run into an entrepreneur who has just decided they're done with growth mindset? They're no longer seeking out that education, right? I see that, and really? It's not common because I think a lot of the people in the circles we run in are growth minded people. But when I'm looking at a headline of yours. Yeah. Right. And it says, stop playing life on hard mode. Yeah. Right. And I love that because sometimes I notice that some entrepreneurs especially are really good at solving problems, right? That's what makes them so unique. However, the bigger a company gets, the type of problems they should be solving are different. And you just highlighted a perfect example. You no longer should be managing the customer service problem. You've hired people to do that. Right. How do you help entrepreneurs make those steps towards like, hey, you're still a problem solver, but you have to like make that transition?
You're right. Not everyone makes that gap. And I think what you'll find is the entrepreneurs who stop growing have a very vicious cycle of their business. They lose it, they gain it, they lose it, they gain it, they lose it, they gain it. And so I think to sustain in this world, you have to sustain your own growth and development. And it's hard to get people to see that. I usually find when someone's hit rock bottom or a big challenge, they're more open and willing to enter into that. Sure. And what I simply do is I try to be the most vulnerable person I can about my challenges in the past. The headline you referenced me. I've been sober over 6 years. I quit drinking prior to starting Design Pickle. I had a horrible life before that, drinking and managing, made many, many bad decisions. I wrote a book on it. Everyone could learn. Sober Entrepreneurs is the name of the book. Yep. I'm vulnerable and open about it to help encourage people to do the same. And so I think that's the best way we can be leaders for others, is lead from our own experience, not from a place of judgment or preaching or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. What if you had to say, like, this is near impossible to do, but if you had to give one piece of advice to that entrepreneur who has realized they're now self-aware that they've been making that cycle that you just described, where they're like growth, struggle, growth, struggle, growth, struggle. What's the one thing to do to break that cycle and to get into next level of achievement?
Oh, I have the answer. It's not.
I love it.
Don't do it alone.
Okay.
Don't do it alone.
And how do you, so what I've seen is most of these people that get stuck in these cycles, they struggle to accept help.
Right.
Either it's white knight challenge, right? They think they have to be the one to solve the problem to be validated, or, or it's some other kind of a battle where they struggle to trust. So one of the challenges, right? Like when you let go of customer service, it's never, maybe I'm wrong, but it's probably not going to get to 100% perfection.
Right.
So how do you accept that gap? Okay, I'm not there and it's not going to be 100%. Like, how do you set your metric? I'm okay with 93%, whatever your thing is.
It has to do with just like kicking your ego out the door. I mean, that's the thing. Your ego is what prevents your personal growth. And if someone can realize that, like I had to let go of my ego when I even started Design Pickle. Tyler, I was doing $250,000 design projects, and here I am selling graphic design services for 3 figures. Come on.
Right.
It was like I went to the dark side or something.
Right.
So let my ego go and build a team and trust people. So that is the same. Like if I run into a dude who's like crushing it professionally, but like having all these problems personally, usually it's their ego is in the way. They don't want to admit that they're the problem. And some people will realize that, others won't. There's nothing you can do. Usually a lot of pain helps the ego fade into the background, but that is truthfully there. And if that happens, people grow exponentially.
Yeah. That I think you're absolutely right. And part of that for me that I've seen, the ego, like letting go of it, also means accepting like that you're working with humans, right?
Yeah.
And that people are going to people are going to do their best. And I always say you can promise best effort, you can't promise perfection, right? And then you nurture and you coach and you improve. How are you? So you're a growth-minded entrepreneur. You're focused on personal development. You're doing all these things. How are you passing that down to your middle-level managers and your team leads and your company as a whole?
Real practically, you got a couple things that we've been doing. First is I have 6 hours of open office hours every Monday. And it's a Calendly link. You can get it. You can book half-hour increments. So I've dedicated. It's open door policy. Anyone, everything. I've talked about every topic under the sun, and that's like a thing I think every leader needs. You need to have access with your team. I've recently started a book club, which has been very successful. We had a really good kickoff of that. And then we have a stipend for all of our team members to invest in their own decisions around personal development. So teams can get reimbursed for courses, conferences, whatever they want to take online as it pertains to their own growth.
Awesome.
And then I talk about it all the time, man. I'm always sharing stuff and just leading by example. Like I hired a meditation coach recently, and I'm talking all about this and how crazy it was. And I almost passed out from breathing too hard. And so whatever, I'm just sharing my journey.
Yeah. That 4 really good points. And I think I really like how you have open door, but scheduled, right? Mm-hmm. Like I have open door, but don't just interrupt me all day long every day. Like these are the blocks of time that you can get access whenever you want. And it's that good balance. It's like the door is available to be open on these times, right? Because if it's always open, you're just getting interrupted all the time. And you got to block out productivity. And I really like the leading by example. I think that's super important. You've done some really cool stuff. You're building an amazing company. You've checked your ego at the door. You're growing. What are your next big growth moments for Design Pickle?
We mentioned it, launching fresh stock. That's our stock asset library. That launches to the public in June. So we're going to be opening that up for anyone, any creator out there who wants world-class vector assets. The reason that's so big, it's going to be $50 a month, unlimited downloads, and it's pure SaaS play. So we're going to really try to venture into that. And then we're looking at how do we just go wide where you can build your perfect creative team. I'm going to go out on an edge, might offend some listeners. Like, we want to go after agencies, to be completely honest. We want to be able to come here and you can assemble the team, build them flat rate, use whoever you need whenever you need, and just have a really killer experience. So I think those are our big 2 pushes that you'll be seeing coming out of the jar here shortly.
Well, I love that. I always ask this question. I think it's going to be super relevant for you. To me, and because you are a conscious entrepreneur, to me, the business is about building a lifestyle that you want, even if you're an entrepreneur that wants to exit or whatever it is you want to do. What is one major item on your personal bucket list you're going to accomplish in the next 12 months? Not Design Pickle, Russ Perry.
Oh, personal bucket list item. It's admitting a mistake. I tried to become a real estate investor the last 2 years, and it's been a nightmare. So selling at those real estate properties at a loss probably, and admitting that I suck at real estate and just continuing to go all in on Design Pickle, that would be a huge relief for me and my wife, because she really hated this decision from day one, and she was right.
I'm laughing with painful empathy. I've absolutely been there.
Here's a tip. Yeah. Never invest in a 66-acre ranch with the son of a very famous reality TV star. I'm going to end it at that.
Not specific at all. So obviously go to designpickle.com, make sure to get your service, check out Design Pickle. A personal recommendation, very worth it if you're doing anything more than 2 design projects a month. It is a huge relief for most companies and teams to have. One thing I'll say, like if you're watching on YouTube or things like that, we'll have links and stuff like that for you if you're catching it on the blog. If you're on the radio, designpickle.com to learn more about Design Pickle and Russ Perry. And thank you all for listening. It is your turn to go out and do something.
Thank you for listening to BizNinja Entrepreneur Radio with Tyler Jorgensen. Please make sure to subscribe so you're first to hear new interviews and episodes. If you found this podcast to be valuable, please share it with a friend. Don't forget to visit our online dojo at bizninja.com to claim your reward for listening to the show.